All right. So one of the important things is that that you solve the GIGO problem. So what does GIGO stand for? He said to the black
Garbage in,
squares.
garbage out. Garbage in, garbage
Garbage in, garbage out. Exactly. So if you collect bad data, you can't do any good things with it. And the process of stopping garbage in, garbage out is a process called data validation. So I've added some notes, and I'll update the document in the share. We talked about the structured query language and how it looks, and gathering data, disaggregating data, but now I'm kind of hitting on this stuff, adding records or inputting data. And when you add records or input data, garbage in, garbage out is the problem, and the solution is the process called data validation. So data validation looks a couple different ways. One, data validation is the process of creating forms so that people can manipulate only that amount of data that you want them to manipulate. So one of the problems with garbage in, garbage out isn't that you're collecting bad data. I collected great data. And then that moron Bill in accounting, who everybody hates and everyone knows he's an idiot, he goes into the database and he F's everything up. He does it every Tuesday. Every Tuesday, that guy goes into the database looking at accounting stuff, and he changes records. He goes into people's addresses and screws them up. He goes into the information about how often they've come to the gym, and he accidentally leans on his keyboard. The guy is just a menace. Well, how do I solve that problem? Well, besides firing Bill in accounting, who happens to be the brother-in-law of the owner, what else can I do? Well, I can create a form so that Bill can look at information, but he can only touch accounting information. So he can look at information about all of this, the health records or the workout records of my employees, but he can't manipulate those in any way. So that is the process of forms. So I'm going to stop this share and go back into my database. All right, is everyone looking at the hotel database now?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So if I'm in here in a table and I let someone come in here, they can do this. Now, what's different about that? Well, I just changed 5 records. Oh, I made a mistake. Which 5 records did I change? No way to find out. Well, I don't want to save. Doesn't matter, because in a database, every time I touch data, it instantly saves that data and commits that record to memory. So that's terrible. I've just screwed up this database, and I don't even know what I screwed up. Everyone knows this person in computer world, right? Every company has 10 of these. People that are going to open up this database, they're going to screw stuff up, and they're not even going to know they screwed it up. How do I prevent that? Well, one of the ways of preventing that is I would never, as a database administrator, allow you to play in the whole table. I don't want you in this where you're actually live touching data. It's like if you were a surgeon and you were trying to figure out what you're doing, and the only way you did it was live exploratory surgery. hey, you know what? Let's kick an X-ray and look at the X-ray first and make our decisions over there before we work live with the patient. Same in database. In database, I'm going to take this table and I'm going to create a form. Now I've got this form, and already my form is better. And why is it better? Because if I look at this form that I just created, I'm going to create it. Now, at the dead minimum, I can only touch one record at a time. I can't screw up 1,000 records or 1,000,000 records at any given time. And then I have all kinds of control, and I'm not going to get into the details of it, but I could go up here into this record and change see if I can show you on this screen. It's going to pop to and pop under window it. I could change permissions. I could say you have read-only permission. You have read-only permission on these fields, but write to those fields. You have read and write to these fields, but delete only if you sign in with it. I can give you all kinds of permissions that solves the garbage in, garbage out problem. So one solution is to create forms and assign permissions so that data is restricted to the people you want to have access to it, and being able to change or manipulate that data is restricted. The second solution is true data validation. And I think a prerequisite of this course is CIS 150. Did I ask this question? Everyone's had CIS 150, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And I'm assuming that most CIS 150's classes at least talked about in Excel the concept of data validation. So data validation in Excel is the same as data validation in databases, which basically is a set of rules that tells you what good data is. I want a whole number between 0 and 100. I want a text-based piece of information that is no more than 55 characters. I can make those rules very, very exacting. I can say a good MasterCard number looks like 17 digits, and the third digit has to be a 6 and the fifth digit has to be a 9. Otherwise, it's not a good master. I can be very, very exact in my data validation. And that way I am pretty sure I don't get bad data. The more exact I am in my data validation, the harder it is for people to put data in. They get frustrated with that. So there's a balancing act. But good data validation leads to good data, leads to a good database. Using a combination of forms with data validation solves the garbage in, garbage out problem. Questions so far? So we've kind of covered creating tables. We've covered creating forms and data validation. And we've talked about what makes a good database in terms of making those decisions. Last class, we talked about queries. So queries are a way to look at a subset or piece of your data. Designing good queries also has a number of rules. We defined a couple of them. We said that some of the things that make a good query include aggregating data, so building it up so that 1,000 records become 50 records, disaggregating data, breaking it down so that you can explain why the records look the way they look into smaller details, and that the process of aggregating and disaggregating data deals with its granularity. That is, how detailed is the information. So what makes a good query? A good query answers the questions that you want to ask. So, we're dealing with COVID-19. And we've talked about this before in class. One of the main things that computer people do, or computer science does, is to provide data to answer questions or to solve a problem. So everyone has different opinions and different problems. I want to make people feel good. Okay, here's the data that shows 98% of people that get COVID-19 will recover from it. Great, that's awesome. We're going to put that out there. I want to show that it's serious. If 2% of the population of the United States dies, that's more people than we lost in the Spanish flu, World War I, World War II, Vietnam, Korea, and everything we've done in the Middle East combined. All depending on what you want to do with the data. What do you want to say with the data? So when you are deciding on the granularity or what you're going to report, you have a mission, you have a statement, you have a purpose for the data. And your queries should support your purpose. Am I saying you're going to lie with data? No. I'm saying that most people that are looking at data are trying to make sense of it, trying to make something that they can use to make effective decisions. And your job as a business person or a computer person is to help support the decisions that you think are best for your company. And that process includes writing queries to pull up sets of data. And they look like this. And finally, when you pull up those queries that you've created from the data that you collected that's good, you're going to report them out. Whether that's a chart, a list, a column, how pretty you make it, those reporting procedures are all important. And if you took CIS 150 with me, I talked about this when we talked about charting. If you've got bad data to report, you better make it look as pretty as possible. Make the cookies, make the columns look like cookies, and make the background look like rainbows and sunshine. It helps. You are selling the data. That process and database is reporting. Part of that is just what I'm saying. It's selling the data. But part of it is less cynical than that. You need to make the data digestible by the people that you're giving it to. If you send someone a report out of a database that has 20,000 records across 7 rows or 50 rows, and they've got to scroll 5 rows to the right and down to find information, that's useless to them. You need to make the data report out in a way where the user's technical skill is in line with the data. If you're sending to computer nerds, great, you can do a CSV data dump and they can open it up in Excel and do all kinds of nerdy stuff to it. But if you're sending it to marketing people and to business people and to technical people who are in your research and development department but aren't data people, you need to make that data look to make it visible in such a way that it's easy to use. So making the data digestible and easy to view is the last piece, and that's called reporting. When you do queries, 2 things I kind of didn't cover is that there are queries that are built into a database. Every month we pull up sales. Every month we pull up Northwest Division sales. Every month we pull up total invoices over 30 days. Those are permanent queries. They're built into your database. I can click on them anytime and they come up. But sometimes I need to pull up a query because somebody calls me and says, do our Nepali students have more or less access to technology than our non-Nepali students? Well, that's not a piece of information that I would know off the top of my head, but I could create a query on the fly, and that would be called an ad hoc query. So ad hoc Latin, basically just meaning instantaneous or on the fly as needed. I'm going to pull up this query and be able to pull it out of the data. Some queries are permanent, some are ad hoc. Questions on that stuff so far?
Nope.
All right, so assignment, and I will send that to you shortly after class today. Our assignment, which will not be due Tuesday, but will be due Thursday of next week, is fairly simple. It's just a 2-paragraph assignment. And what I'm going to be asking you to do is the same thing as I did before. So using whatever you did for your database design and your table that you already did, tell me what makes a good database. And your response should say to me, when designing a database for a pet store, one should consider the purpose. What type of data would you collect? One should build tables that collect the data that you will need to use to make aggregate and disaggregate reports. One should consider how you're going to collect the data to solve garbage in, garbage out. And that is by creating data validation, making sure that you're collecting the correct pet names, that you're collecting the correct pet owner names, that you're collecting valid weights of dogs. One should consider the types of queries that one might want to run, including permanent queries and ad hoc queries, such as blah, blah, blah. And finally, what reports that you're going to develop. Who is going to be looking at those reports and how much data that they need. So I kind of just gave you a brief answer of what I'm looking for. About 6-8 sentences that you show to me, you know the stuff that's in the notes, that you know what makes a good database, what makes a good table, what makes a good form, what makes a good query, and what makes a good report. Questions about the assignment? All right, so in Zoom, on the bottom row, there's a reaction. I just put up a thumbs up. I understand what's going on. Give me a thumbs up. There we go. I like it. Sweet.
Where is it at?
On the bottom row, when you go down below where it says stop video, security, chat, share screen, on the far right, it says reactions, just before end meeting.
Oh. Oh, got it.
There you go. Cool. All right. I will send an email out with all of that information for the assignment. It will be due next Thursday. Next week, we will start talking about system procurement and how you decide whether to buy or build or buy hardware or software and all that kind of good stuff. Then we'll do a review for the final and the final. Again, if you have any
Sabiro,
questions. Yes, go ahead.
did you see my message?
Let's try. Okay. So how do you want to get the survey to them?
like maybe via email.
Okay, yep. So he had, because it has a survey that he needs, and I will forward it to you. And if you could help him with some data, and I will forward, if you forward that to me, I will forward it to the class.
It's mostly like 5 minutes.
Okay. Basically looking at how the online classes are going.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. Anything else for the good of the order?
So what if I just share the link here and everyone just copied it and then like for 1 minute and then everyone just leave?
In the chat window, is that where you want to put it?
Yeah, just for 1 minute and everyone can copy it for themselves.
Okay, that's fine.
All right. Thank you.
So he's putting a link in the chat window for the survey that he would appreciate it if you could fill it out and send it in. I'm assuming this is for one of your other classes.
Okay.
I'm not seeing it yet.
Yeah.
The assignment will be for you to look at the database that you've already designed and tell me what goes into good database design, considering input, table creation, forms, queries, and output and reporting.
Professor Biter,
Yeah.
I actually just like an individual question for the like web internet assignment that we did like a while ago.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I emailed you about it, but I'm not sure if like my emails have been going through. But like even like before we left for quarantine, we didn't like get my I don't even know, like the additional like Word document graded yet.
Okay.
And I
I
wasn't
thought
sure.
I had and responded, but I will check again.
All right, thank you.
All right. Yep.
Isabella, I just shared the link. It says there is a link. If everyone can just copy it, please.
You shared a link
There is the link.
in the chat window.
Yeah, it says there is the link.
I don't see it yet.
It says the okay. In the chat window, it just says like this is the link, and below it you just see the link HTTPS. Oh, all right. Wait.
Yeah. I think you're going to be better off just shooting me an email, and I will forward that email to the class.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Excuse me?
Yes.
Yeah, so I do have a problem. I submit my last assignment, and I wrote your email. I made a mistake, spelling mistakes in email. And I screenshot it, and I sent it to you to the correct email. But you haven't responded yet to it. So do you want me to like resend it again?
Yeah, please, because I thought I was caught up and had responded. So if I haven't, I don't know if I've maybe not seen it.
Sounds good. And I will also take screenshot of the spelling mistakes that I have sent to you.
I know someone had mentioned that they'd already done the Bitburner assignment. It was duplicated in there, and that I did see, and I solved it, and it should be only one assignment, and everyone should have credit for it that has done the Bitburner.
Sounds good. And I
All
will
right.
receive.
Question.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. I sent you an email about the Bitburner assignment too. I don't know if you got it because like sometimes I email you and you don't answer me, or I don't know. So I don't know if like you're getting some of the emails I sent, but I sent my Bitburner assignment. Did you get that yet?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure because I don't think it's the grade in yet for it.
Yep. I got it.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Peter?
Yes.
Last question. I just double check. I just want to double check the last assignment. Have you graded yet?
No, the table assignment, I've not put the grades in yet,
Okay, sounds good.
but I should have that shortly.
Thank you.
Yep.
Professor Beda, I already sent it to your email.
Okay. It did show up in chat now, but I will forward it to the email.
Thank you.
I have a question too.
Yes.
So I sent both of my assignments in the same email, but you have not responded to me. I was wondering if I send it to the same email. It's yours is like Biter001, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Have I not put the grades in?
Nope.
All right. I will take a look.
Okay, thank you.
Jot that down.
All right, thank
Yeah.
you guys. Please help fill in.
Anything else? All right. We will see you on Tuesday.
All right, thank you. Thank you guys.
Mr. White, you have a good day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.